Hello there guys, it's me Unstable Voltage and welcome to episode 11 of Europa Universalis IV. We are currently at war with Burgundy and Brittany, and I think somebody else was in there as well for luck. No, just Burgundy and Brittany. Brittany actually declared war on us. The main reason for that is because they don't like us. They are part of a coalition against us, along with Burgundy and France. Obviously, Burgundy has been dragged into the war as part of the coalition. France didn't get involved in the war because we still have a truce with France, so they're unable to do anything there. We are currently... we did lose Co to Burgundy. Well, we haven't lost it, but they have managed to siege it and flip it, but that's not the end of the world. We are starting to try and siege out Brittany. We have a plague. We can either lose 50 ducats or our goods produced can be reduced by 10%. Well, we can't really afford to lose the money. We're already in the negative and we're taking loans out of the wazoo. That's mainly because we have so many mercenaries. And the main reason for that is that our manpower is absolutely nothing at the moment. We're trying to fight a war of attrition and we have no men, so we're definitely going to have a lot of problems. Hoping that we get these sieges on Finisterre and on Morbihan. No, I've never even heard of some of these places before. And hopefully then we can start to merge some of these armies together and potentially push back a little bit, though I'm not necessarily convinced that that's going to be a good idea. These guys have now moved off from Co. That's why, because Castile are actually landing troops on Picardy, which is going to be bad for Castile. And this is sometimes what the problem is your allies sometimes do derpy things, and that's just going to end up in me losing some war score as the Castilians' army gets wrecked. So not always a great thing to happen. However, the sieges over here are still going pretty well on my side of things. So we'll allow that to continue for a while here. I think we're now at our force limit. We're actually 1 over our force limit, which isn't necessarily good, but we do really want to try and deal with these people as best we can. I can't believe that Castile are still going to land there. They're actually just going to get ripped apart. But we will see what happens. These sieges are coming along. Of course, we don't have any siege leaders. We don't have any siege weaponry. I don't know how that fight is going to go. I'm expecting that Castile is... I mean, they've already got a -2 crossing penalty. They've got no leader. Admittedly, the Burgundians... Oh, Burgundians do... No, there are leaders there. Just wasn't showing. So they do both have leaders. Currently at +4 on the war score there. But I would say that Castile are... Yeah, I mean, the Burgundian army's hardly losing anything there at all. So they are going to get ripped right down to nothing. And then we'll lose... Oh, we didn't actually lose all that much war score. One thing I would like to do, though, is check the ledger. And actually have a look at the armies. And see what Burgundy have got in the tank. Burgundy have somehow got 2,800 manpower. And they've got 34k troops. Now, compared to England, we have almost 38k troops, but we've got no manpower in the tank. Admittedly, we do have our allies. Brittany don't seem to have any troops around. I think we've absolutely decimated them all. And well, no, actually, some of those are Brittany troops. So yeah, it's not too terrible at the moment. These Castilian people are now moving away from this siege. Now, I automatically take over the siege, which is good, because that means that if it sieges out, it'll be sieged by me. Are Castile actually going home? Or are they just reinforcing? Or are there some units down here that I haven't taken into account? Are Castile involved in another war? No, they're only the defender against Burgundy in the Breton-English Punitive War. So Castile aren't returning home to deal with issues down there. Oh, maybe they're... it's quite possible that they're bringing these ships down here to collect these troops from Poitou. Or then again, maybe they're not. Not too sure what Castile are doing. If I'm honest, I'm not too sure Castile are sure what Castile are doing. No hostile troops landed so far. Still improving relations with Portugal, which is quite good. We're a little way off actually managing to get our vassalization with Leinster, because the problem with we're at war, and we still need a little bit more sort of friendliness with them before we can get them on board. But it is possible. It is something that could well happen. I'm going to go up to speed 2. A little bit dangerous. Do need to keep sort of one hand on the spacebar just in case something strange happens. As soon as I see armies start moving. We've managed to get that siege there. That is a fantastic start. We'll move these guys on here, which makes it less likely that these guys are going to move in. Although these guys have actually started to make a move, which is interesting. I think what I'm actually going to do here as well, and this is going to cost me a lot of money, and it's probably very, very stupid, but I'm actually going to get even more mercenaries. Because I think this is going to end up being a numbers game. I mean, that's very much what Europa Universalis is a numbers game, right? They are intending to move in. They are coming into Amur. They have a lot more units than I do. I could potentially throw these guys in. It is risky. When are they going to arrive? On the 3rd of November. If I detach sieges, move everybody else in. Will they stop? No, they're still coming in. They really are coming in. Now, the question is, do I break my sieges and reinforce with everything I've got? The answer is yes, I really have to at this point. Still got mercenaries producing. It is going to take them a little while. I can get more cavalry over here. That will take a little bit of time. It's not going to be time to get involved in this battle. Let's just slow things down to speed 2. We're not actually doing too great here. The Castilians are arriving, but it may be too late. The Portuguese are trying to drop some troops in as well. We did get a good roll there. 21st of November, if we can hold on, although getting rolls like that aren't going to help matters much. And we actually lost, which is very tragic, although the Castilians have gone in. The Castilians actually went in, and the Burgundians are on very low morale. Now, unfortunately, because the fight had just ended, it did mean that the Castilians got the crossing penalty, because essentially they've now gone in as the attacker, because the Burgundians were defending at that point, because they'd driven me out. But, at the same time, Castile are now unsieging Go. So, my allies are actually being relatively useful at this point. It is quite possible that Castile might just break that army. Right, you guys can go down there and start sieging as quickly as possible. Everyone else has arrived in Labor. Come on, Castile. I'm praying for you. I've got my fingers crossed. I've got everything crossed, to be honest. You need one good roll, Castile. I wish I could actually see what was going on in the battle. But unfortunately, that cannot be done. And unfortunately, Castile weren't the victors there. I'm going to move you down then while it is safer. You guys are all going to move back up. So we have got a couple of different armies down here. It's a shame that that all went south. We may possibly be able to dogpile on. They do still have a bigger stack. They are taking a lot of attrition. Of course, we would get the crossing penalty, which would be the biggest hindrance to us at this point now. They're actually starting to move in to try and unsiege that. In fact, they're actually splitting their army up, which is potentially a very good thing for me. Now, I think what we're going to do here is I'm going to group all of these together. I'm going to split it in half. And then the other stack is going to get the other leader because it automatically ungrouped them. So now we have two armies here. We're going to start moving this army into Loire. We may be able to dive in here and take out this stack. Okay, so let us move in. See if we can bait them in. This is a fight we should very much win. We're going to arrive on the 21st of January. They're not trying to move out. We've got the claim on Berry, so that's given us some extra military power. We can now take another mission. It's always worth checking, because sometimes you get something that will, you know, that just helps with things. We don't really want to take Picardy, although we could do. Vassalize Scotland, rival of our rival. Okay, not too bothered about any of them at the moment. They're not all that important. The war rages on. So this should be a battle that we can win. Although, of course, we do get the penalty because we are the attacker in this instance. We still have a positive war score, which is very nice. They're getting some really good rolls, which I disapprove of greatly. We did win that fight, and in fact, we completely stack-wiped them, which is fantastic. Now, I do have a bigger army here, and I could potentially move in here and try and take these guys out. A little bit risky. Nobles ally with foreign power. England can either get a diplomatic insult CB against France and lose 33 administrative power, or we can lose 25 prestige. I'm going to take the hit on prestige, and the reason for that is we're in a war anyway, and a war is always a good way to recover prestige. Still a little bit difficult for us to regain manpower here. It would be nice for us to dogpile on and try and take out their army, but we do have the lower morale at this point, and it would be very, very risky for us to try and do so. What I might do is split the army up and try and siege out both of these provinces, and if it might bait them into coming at me. We'll have to see how that goes. As for our force limit, what are we at? We're actually over our force limit at the moment, which is not great. Portugal is still dropping more troops, and in fact, Castile are actually now dropping some troops onto the Burgundian mainland, so they're causing a little bit of a nuisance with themselves. There's a heavy and a light there. I'm not going to bother attacking that with my transports. That would be a little bit foolish. We're still at 5% war score, though, so as far as things go, we are actually ahead. I don't really want these guys to unsiege Brittany, but they probably will do. And even though we're massively over our force limit, what we could potentially do, and this would be highly risky, is we could invest in a technology, and we could actually... might be worth doing it, actually. We can actually use some of our military power and increase our military technology. Now, we don't get a new unit type at this point, but it would give us armories, which we're not going to build. It would give us additional military tactics and additional land morale. So we're actually going to do that, and we're going to spend that money, which goes into effect immediately. So we get better military tactics and we get better land morale. If we actually have a look at Burgundy, Burgundy are already at a military tech 4. And so are Brittany. So we were behind in military tech, and we're now actually catching up. So that is going to help in battles a little bit. Not massively, but it will help a tiny amount. This army's slightly bigger. I'm going to detach a siege, and I'm actually going to take the siege I've detached and move that down here into the Loire, because if we can siege that out, we can actually force their ships out to sea, and we can potentially win the naval battle out there. So that would be quite useful. We can see there's a bit of a fight going over there. Looks like the Portuguese are going to win that one as well, which is very nice. Fantastic. Brilliant. Right, we've taken out another loan. The problem these guys have now is that if they finish unsieging Finisterre, they're going to have to come back through Amur or Morbihan. Whichever one they come through, they're going to be attacking and I'm going to be defending, and I can just reinforce from the neighbouring province. So they're basically going to have to come through my army now if they unsiege that province, which gives me a very, very good chance of taking them out. Castile are being a little bit derpy, but they are doing some excellent work up there, so I can't grumble about that too much. I'm not even bothered about doing all that much damage to Burgundy. I just want to try and do as much damage to Brittany and potentially take them if possible. And hopefully once the truces run out between France and Burgundy, they'll start picking on each other, which would be really good. So you guys, I'm quite happy for you to continue to siege things out over there and unsiege that for me. In fact, if the Castilians unsiege that, that'll increase the war score quite a little bit for me. Burgundy's capital, I believe, is Holland still at this point. Where do I find out? Is that their capital? Ah, no, their capital is... No, that's Galra. Where's your capital? I'm terrible at geography, so... That's my excuse for everything. Oh, it's Bourgogne. There we go. Bourgogne is their capital. So, if we took that, we could literally get a lot of war score. But again, we can't really get through France, so... That's pretty much out of the question at this point. So we're just going to have to continue with our little domestic war over here. I think we can go back up to speed 2. Relatively safely for now. Only thing I really have to watch is these units and be prepared to act if they start to move. That's going to be the issue. Castilian's still dropping in a lot of troops over here, straight into Burgundy. That's helping things quite a lot, actually. As long as they don't start losing too many wars. We've actually got enough money in the bank that we can now start building armories in 3 or more provinces. Now, if we actually click and go to buildings and select the armory, we can see where we can actually build them. There's a lot of places that don't have armories, and that will improve our manpower drastically. Although it does actually cost military power as well as ducats. We don't have the ducats to do it, really. And to be fair, we don't really have the military power either. So we will be able to build some buildings later on. But right now, we need to concentrate on winning this war. Or, to be more precise, we need to concentrate on not losing this war. So we've got 3 sieges going on. They've only got 1 hostile siege going on, which is technically an unsiege. But we're actually beating them in terms of siege times. This one's going to be a little bit slower, but I'm still dicing with the idea of what do I do if I siege these 2 provinces? Do I dogpile onto them and get the... there wouldn't be a river crossing bonus. Well, a river crossing penalty. But we would still be attacking, and there might be a terrain penalty there. Show province. It's 60% plains, 25% coastline, 11% woods, 1% forest. So I don't think it would be too bad, actually, even if we did attack into them, but it's still a little bit risky. But I'm going to wait until these provinces siege out anyway. I'm going to keep my eye on my allies up there and see what they're doing. We're taking out loans all over the shop at the moment because we're so low on money. And then, of course, we've got possible revolt risks. Now, the thing is, even if the peasants rise up in Finisterre at the moment, it'll be their own troops that have to deal with them. So that's always nice when that happens. I see a few Burgundian units around. Not too much is going on. I see Castile dropping even more soldiers onto Burgundy's lands. And I think, to be honest, Burgundy's entire army is actually sat down here. So the I'm keeping them in one place while Castile are basically just going to go around and siege everything. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm actually quite happy if that is the way this war turns out. Right, I don't think you guys are involved with anything. Let's just have a look at the grand scheme of things. We still have England, Castile and Portugal all have high war enthusiasm, and Burgundy and Brittany are actually now down to medium war enthusiasm, so things aren't looking good for them. Brittany's war exhaustion is extremely high as well. I mean, mine isn't brilliant, but all in all, the war is going a lot better for us than it is for Burgundy and Brittany. We'll wait until we've sieged out all of the Brittany's provinces if possible. We are going to have to try and take that one back if we do lose it in the meantime. And we'll see if we are actually able to vassalize Brittany. In fact, what would we need to vassalize Brittany? If we wanted to attempt that, what would we have to get? Probably won't tell us at this point. Annul treaties. We don't want Burgundy to be an English vassal. We may not even be able to do it. We could get them... Well, they're not even... They don't own Burgundy. Interesting. I don't really want to take anything from them. I'd like Burgundy. If I've got any way of taking Burgundy or taking bits of Burgundy, fine. But I don't really want anything... not Burgundy, Brittany. If I can take Brittany or bits of Brittany, that's fine. I'm not too bothered about Burgundy, but we will see where that goes. There are some... what makes me laugh is that these are English nationalists that have risen up. But this is one of the reasons why the revolt system needs to change. You've got an English province that has been sieged by the Burgundians. And now English nationalists, well, they're Norman nationalists, but they're Norman nationalists for England. They're a liberation army. They have risen up. And they have risen up to try and help liberate this back to England. But they're now fighting a Castilian army, and the Castilians are on my side. So the problem with rebels is they're pretty indiscriminate about who they attack. We've got enough administration points to invest in a new technology, and while that would be quite useful, we're not going to do it just yet, and the reason for that is we may need some of our administrative power in the peace deal, so it's always a good idea to save some of that. But we can't do an awful lot more on this video, so I'm going to leave it there, and I will see you guys next time. So until then, goodbye for now.